February 2019 was the kind of winter people in North Dakota would later describe as wrong. The snow didn't just fall, it swallowed sound, light, and movement, turning the world into something hollow and lifeless. Winds screamed across empty highways, visibility dropped to almost nothing, and emergency alerts warned everyone to stay indoors. But Mark Jensen had heard warnings before. He was a delivery driver, used to bad weather, used to being alone at night. Still, something felt off as his van cut through the storm. Ice crept across the windshield faster than the defroster could clear it, and the road ahead seemed to stretch unnaturally long, like it didn't want him to reach home. At 11:47 p.m., Mark called dispatch. His voice was calm, but underneath it was a faint tremble, the kind people don't notice until later. He said he was only 5 minutes away. Then the call ended. He never called again. 2 days later, when the storm finally loosened its grip, search crews found his van parked on the shoulder of a rural road. The engine was cold. The doors were locked from the inside. Nothing appeared damaged. But directly in front of the vehicle, deep in the untouched snow, were footprints. Mark's footprints. They were steady and deliberate, not panicked, not rushed. They led away from the van for about 200 feet, straight into the open white emptiness. Then they stopped. No signs of slipping, no struggle, no body. Just a clean ending, as if Mark had simply ceased to exist. Some of the responders said the air felt colder where the footprints ended, unnaturally cold, like something had stood there for a long time. Mark Jensen was never found, but locals swear that during heavy blizzards, fresh footprints still appear on that road, walking calmly into nothing. And if you follow them too long, you get the overwhelming sensation that someone is standing directly behind you, breathing slowly in the freezing dark. Years earlier, in January 2004, the Rocky Mountains of Colorado were locked in a storm that erased trails and distorted distance. 3 college students were snowmobiling when visibility vanished almost instantly. The temperature dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius, cold enough to burn skin, cold enough to kill within minutes. Their machines stalled and panic set in. Fingers went numb, breathing hurt. Every sound felt muffled, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Desperate, they checked a trail map and spotted an old emergency shelter, an abandoned ranger cabin marked but long unused. Reaching it felt unreal, like walking towards something that shouldn't still exist. The door creaked open without resistance. Inside was bare and silent, a wooden table, 3 chairs, and an old radio bolted to the wall, dusty and dead-looking. No electricity, no batteries. They lit a small fire and huddled together, shaking uncontrollably. That was when the radio turned on. Static crackled softly, then a voice emerged, clear and slow, telling them not to fall asleep. One of them laughed nervously, assuming it was interference, but the radio shut off abruptly. The silence afterward felt heavier than the storm outside. Minutes later, the radio came back on. The same voice, weaker this time, warned them that if they slept, they would freeze. Fear rooted them in place. All night long, they forced themselves awake, slapping their faces, shaking each other, because every time someone's eyes closed, the cold inside the cabin seemed to deepen. At dawn, rescuers finally arrived. When the students told a ranger about the radio, his expression drained of color. He told them the cabin had been abandoned since 1987. A ranger had once been trapped there during a storm, calling for help on that very radio until hypothermia stole his voice. The radio had been removed from service decades earlier. When investigators checked it, there were no batteries inside. Yet somehow it had spoken. In 1996, during one of Minnesota's worst recorded blizzards, emergency services received a 911 call from a woman stranded on a frozen highway. Her voice was eerily calm, almost peaceful. She said she couldn't feel her hands anymore, but that someone was outside her car. Dispatchers immediately sensed something was wrong and told her to lock the doors and stay alert. There was a pause. Then she whispered that the man outside was smiling and that he would keep her warm. The dispatcher begged her not to open the door. After several seconds of silence, the woman spoke again, barely audible, saying the man didn't have a face, just a smooth white emptiness where it should have been. The line went dead. Search crews found her car the next morning buried under snow. The doors were locked. No footprints anywhere around the vehicle. The woman had frozen to death in the driver's seat. The case was closed as exposure-related hallucination, a known symptom of hypothermia. But dispatch records tell a different story. Exactly 1 year later, during another blizzard, at 3:12 a.m., the same phone number called 911 again. There was no voice at first, only wind howling through the receiver. Then a faint whisper came through, calm and content, saying that she wasn't cold anymore. The call disconnected before it could be traced. These stories are not just about snowstorms or winter accidents. They're about what the cold does to people when they are alone, exhausted, and just barely holding on. Some believe hypothermia creates illusions, tricks of the mind desperate to survive. Others believe the cold awakens something ancient, something patient, something that waits for the world to go quiet. Whatever the truth is, one thing remains certain. When the blizzard comes and everything turns white and silent, not every voice you hear is trying to save you.